We're going to move on to workforce grants, and this is the job capacity building job training sector of the program. We have Sarah L. White, who is the Deputy Director of the California Workforce Development Board. Ms. White, are you?
Yeah. Chairman Hueso, thank you very much, members. I am not Sarah White.
Okay.
My name is Tim Rainey. I'm the Executive Director of the California Workforce Development Board, here to talk about our training programs.
Okay.
I'll try to be fast because I know pressed for time. So the State Workforce Investment Board, Development Board rather, has two statutory responsibilities under Prop 39. One is to track employment and jobs outcomes resulting from the Prop 39 broader investment. We work with the Energy Commission, Department of Industrial Relations, and UC Berkeley Labor Center, Don Weil Center, to collect and compile that data. Sarah White will actually come on the next panel to talk about the jobs outcomes data and what we've done thus far. The other statutory responsibility of ours is to develop and administer training programs targeted to at-risk youth, veterans, and other populations with barriers to employment. So as Mr. Oglesby talked about briefly, or I'm not sure if he did, the Employment Development Department and the State Workforce Board are appropriated $3 million annually out of Prop 39 for the life of the program, starting with 2013-14. As you know, Prop 39 dollars are public funds. The only way onto a public works project for a worker is through a state-approved apprenticeship program. So we're investing Prop 39 to build an infrastructure of pre-apprenticeship around the state of California that allows people with barriers to employment who otherwise would not have had access to these high-quality apprenticeship programs, access to those programs. So we require a couple things in these grants, the $3 million that we put out competitively. One is a partnership among local building trades councils, critical for making sure we align multiple crafts to develop a apprenticeship program that maximizes opportunity for placement and apprenticeship. Those crafts and those local building trades councils actually work very closely with local workforce investment boards, community colleges, the Conservation Corps, Youth Build, and other community-based organizations to develop the curriculum, number one, but also to provide the quality training in the pre-apprenticeship side of the work. The second piece is the adoption of multi-craft core curriculum, which is developed by the National Building Trades Council. The beauty of the MC3, and this is really the new piece of pre-apprenticeship in the state of California, is it does allow, it's a curriculum that allows multiple crafts in a particular region to come together and offer multiple pathways into apprenticeship for the populations that we're targeting. This is very unique. Usually pre-apprenticeship programs are with a particular craft, and the intent is to try to get people with barriers to employment the kind of pre-construction training that they can get into one particular craft. It's very difficult. Folks in the pre-apprenticeship may decide, for example, if it's an ironworkers apprenticeship program, that they're afraid of heights. But when you're into a program pretty far, there's a lot of upfront costs, and if a person washes out for whatever reason, there's a high cost. The multiple craft approach allows an individual access to, as I said, 6, 7, in Fresno, in fact, it's 8 different crafts who are partnering. The goal of the first $3 million in investment was to train 300 individuals, and the target date for this outcome, train and place 300 individuals, the target date for this outcome was the end of December, so we've compiled the data for the end of December. We're now compiling data in the next cohorts of trainees. So as of October, there were 499 individuals, again, the target population is veterans and at-risk youth. They completed the pre-apprenticeship, and 256 have been placed in employment. So we expect to exceed those outcomes in the next round of pre-apprenticeship training grants. We have 6 implementation grants that we funded in the first round. Fresno, Los Angeles through Los Angeles Trade Tech, Richmond through the Workforce Investment Board there, Sacramento through the Sacramento Employment Training Agency that's placing participants actually on the arena construction, and San Francisco, which is run by the Conservation Corps, and the Silicon Valley, which is run by Work to Future, but also the San Mateo Local Building Trades Council. 2 in development in Santa Cruz, 1 in Santa Cruz, 1 in Marin, and we have technical assistance from the State Labor Federation and the Emerald Cities Collaborative.
First of all, I want to applaud the diversity of organizations that you're tapping into for the training aspect of it.
Thank you.
I think that's a phenomenal approach. When you mentioned the San Francisco Conservation Corps, is that the state agency corps, or is that one of the local corps?
It's local corps.
Okay. And that's good to hear that you're working with local corps as well. One of my concerns about SB 73 when it was approved is that as from a legislator's perspective, when we approved that bill, and it had the conservation corps worked into it, my understanding that the conservation corps were not only going to get a portion of the revenue for capacity building and job training, but they were also going to participate in the construction side of the projects. When we approved that, I later found out that there's a fragmentation of the structure of the corps in which you have the state agencies separated from the local corps. I was disappointed to see that the local corps were not getting any of the programmatic funds. But to date, I haven't seen, and this is where I'll direct my questions about the money going to the corps with Mr. McNamara. And I'll have some questions for you on that, because I'd like to see that the corps are participating in these projects to the extent that they have the ability to do so. I have seen them do amazing things in the area of construction, in the area of electrical and building. I mean, they have been extremely innovative in structuring their staff and their programs to target the most at-risk youth. The Conservation Corps program is fantastic, but the state agency kind of weeds out people with, maybe with some felonies or with some, previous bad experiences with the law, and that leaves a lot of kids out of the program that are working to improve themselves. Here they decided, they want to improve their lives, they want to go to school, graduate, they want to get a job, they want to get job training, and in essence, this policy is cutting all of those kids out. While we're trying to work very hard in making investments at recidivism reduction to reduce overcrowding in our prisons and make California an innovation state, not an incarceration state, I'm a little disappointed that this policy doesn't go enough for those kids that need jobs out there and that need job training, that we don't want to frustrate them to the point where they have to go a different path that's going to lead them down into potentially going to prison. We don't want that. So generally speaking, the question is, are we working with the local corps and the conservation corps to eventually, we have talked about projects that have already been built, completed. How many of those were done by conservation corps? Are we making an effort to get the conservation corps at the table, the local corps at the table, to get these kids out there doing some of these projects for the school districts? They can do weatherization, they can do lots of good improvements that within their category, within what they qualify for, to us, be part of the program.
I think much of the question is probably better answered by Bill, my colleague, but I will say that we worked really closely with the Corps in designing the pre-apprenticeship program long ago, and the result has been good collaboration with the local corps, and I think the state corps has done a terrific job of outreaching to local corps and making sure that they know about the pre-apprenticeship investments through our shop and trying to integrate as much as we can there. Both Sacramento and San Francisco is run by a local corps, but Sacramento has deep engagement by the Sacramento Corps, and it's going quite well. So it's something we're striving to improve this relationship amongst, us at the state level, but also with the local corps. Local corps also do a great job across the state, and I know the state Corps has helped to make this happen. Great relationships directly with crafts across the state, in particular with the laborers. So we've seen some great opportunities for Corps members when they finish the Corps program to use the skills they learned in the Corps and take those on and be successful in apprenticeship programs. I wanted to point out, if I could, I handed up a piece that has a brief profile in each of the 6 programs, if you'd like to take a look at it at some point. But it's got a list of all the partners in each region. You can see it's a breadth of partners in each with each of the programs, which is our goal.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very well, thank you.
Thank you.
And maybe we'll turn the mic over to William Bill McNamara, and he's with the California Conservation Corps. He's the Director of Energy Programs, and you're, I think, the one that's, I guess, regionally involved in statewide Prop 39.
That's correct. So first of all, good morning to you, and thanks for inviting us to speak about this subject. I do have a slide set. I'm not exactly sure how it starts, but I have a slide set, and I also gave you a handout. So thank you. Thank you very much. So I understand the time constraints today, so I'll try to keep this very brief. So the CCC itself is a work-learn program. Again, you gentlemen may very well be familiar with the CCC, but we began in 1976, so our 40th anniversary is coming up this year. So our focus is on providing work and learn experiences for Corps members between 18 and 25, young adults, and also returning veterans up to 19. On the energy side of the world, the CCC has developed an organizational unit within it called the Energy Corps. The Energy Corps, again, is all about partnerships. So we work with third-party energy efficiency companies, ESCOs, contractors, the IOUs, the MOUs, the municipal utilities, as well as others throughout the state to achieve this. We have about 26 locations throughout the state. And from the local corps, there are 14 local corps in the CCC to address some of the points you just brought up. The CCC works directly with all of the local corps and certifies them annually. We, on the Prop 39 set of goals, we receive about $5 million a year in allocation. And our program design is to provide Corps members with training to do basically 3 things, 2 main things. The first is to provide energy audits, which we call energy opportunity surveys. These are ASHRAE compliant or energy industry compliant level 2 audits. And also to do retrofit project work directly for LEAs throughout the state. So all of these resources are applied for those purposes. We also have an educational component, which includes things like O&M best practices that we provide to every LEA that we perform energy opportunity surveys for. And in terms of best practices, there is a substantial amount of savings potential just within the best practices that don't actually require expenditure of funds, typically, in order to realize some of those savings. I mentioned that the allocation goes from the CCC, or to the CCC. We then provide those services to the LEAs. At the time that the program was first engaged for us, there were 1,979 LEAs, and that number increases and decreases over time. The service means...
Going back to that slide,
Sure.
You did mention you're getting $5 million a year. When did that allocation begin? When was your first $5 million allocation?
It was the first year of the program, so
That
it
would have
began 2013.
June, so it went with the budget year.
That's correct.
So you would have received the money July 2013.
That's correct.
Okay.
So the main services we provide, again, are our energy opportunity surveys or energy audits. And we train the Corps members operating throughout the state to go to the school facilities and be able to perform an industry standard audit using industry standard type tools and methodologies and processes. Again, we're developing skill sets for these young adults that allow them to be a very marketable or very able set of skills in terms of being able to get jobs within the energy industry if that's what they choose to pursue. These are at no cost to the schools, school districts. They're performed on-site at school locations. They're very comprehensive. They include, they are whole building energy audits. They include all the subsystems, including plug loads. They do building envelope aspects, fenestration, every aspect of the building. That data then is also accompanied by substantial photography to document what is actually seen. The data is provided to the LEAs, and that data is useful in several dimensions. One is that the data actually allows the school districts to have a much better physical inventory of all of the energy-related aspects and utilizations of energy in the buildings as well. I'm sorry.
Going back to the $5 million.
Sure.
You were ready to begin expending that money July 2013,
That's correct.
doing the assessments?
So with those funds were immediately applied to training the Corps members to get them ready to go out and do and I'll show you the actual statistics of what has been performed since that date. But
Was any of that information helpful in formulating the applications from the district to the agency for funding, for example? So between July 2013 and February 2014, was any information compiled that was useful for the districts?
So the Energy Opportunity Survey crews, the CCC crews, began operation practically in the very beginning stages in October of 2013. By January 2014, we had full 10 crews operating throughout the state. So there was some initial data collected and presented back to LEAs in that initial period from October to January, and then the real production side of data began in January 2014. So again, we provide energy opportunity surveys, and now in the surveys, the data is collected by the CCC Corps members using tablet-based computers and application software. Originally, it was on paper. Now it's moved to an automated form. That data is provided directly to the LEAs, as well as to whoever may be performing the data analysis and the report generation that makes the recommendations. These are all synchronized with the Prop 39 requirements that are issued by the CEC, the guidelines. They make use of the calculators provided by the CEC. So the recipient LEA would receive an energy opportunity survey, including a report, and the populated calculators that would support their submission for the Energy Efficiency Project, the EAP, as well as the operational O&M best practice guidelines to go with that. So there is a substantial amount of information provided and a substantial amount of guidance provided to the LEA in terms of the schools that are actually audited. The other aspect is that in mid-2015, we began providing energy installation, EE, or energy efficiency retrofit installation services. So our plan was and is to provide the basic level of training of all things that relate to energy in terms of buildings for the Corps members to build a substantial knowledge base, followed by, and then give them direct work experience on many, many hundreds, if not thousands of buildings, and then provide them with opportunity to be trained on how to do retrofits, installation on a very practical level, and then go out and actually perform these retrofit installations at no cost on the labor side to the LEAs. So those are the two main activities. So the third activity that we have is from an energy efficiency standpoint, we also do educational engagement with LEAs. So we provide information to LEAs about energy efficiency. We present what we're doing. We also, with some of the larger school districts, we're engaged in conversations about the potential of having linked learning opportunities where we would actually have some selected high school students, for example, join with the core members, go through the training process for energy opportunity surveys, and actually participate in energy audits within the school district's buildings. And this is in progress. This is one of the aspects that's in progress. So this slide actually talks about the status of the energy opportunity surveys to date. So to date, we've done about 1,105 schools throughout the state and about 319 LEAs. Now, we've had a total of 384 LEAs apply for these services so far, but the demand for the service has far outstripped the resource capability. So there are still, another 70 or so LEAs that we have not done any surveys for who have already applied. We actually stopped the application process. The process itself was an online application form, very simple to fill out. In addition to that, I've done extensive, and others have done extensive outreach to LEAs individually, collectively, in groups, by county, and in a number of other forums to explain what we have, how it's available, how they would apply for it, both in terms of the surveys and also the retrofit services. So one of the goals of the CCC's program, Prop 39 funded program, was to provide the majority of services to ADA 5,000 and less, 5,000 or less, and also
5,000 or less what?
ADA, the average daily attendance.
Off to the school site?
Yes. So, so the selection, or we've encouraged the LEAs. It's up to them to select which schools, for example, we would do. But as the applications come in, from a scheduling standpoint, we've given priority to ADA 5,000 and less, and also with high percentages of free and reduced price meal students that are qualified for FPR.
You're generally talking about these programs working on the information gathering and preparing the districts to participate in this program. Do you have any information about how the conservation corps are being recruited to do the actual work? To what extent can they participate in the bricks and mortar side of it, actual improvements? Is that something that you're looking at? Is that something that's even contemplated? Is that something that's in our future?
I'm sorry, you were specifying local conservation corps?
I would like to see all of them participate. I'd like to see opportunities. We talked about Youth Build. We talked about the locals. When we approved this program, and we looked at the conservation corps, and they're written into the law. Again, there was a misunderstanding on my part that when we're talking about the conservation corps, we're talking about the universe of conservation corps, and that there was going to be money set aside for apprenticeship and job training for them to get to the point where they're participating in our economy at a greater extent.
Exactly. So I share that same perspective. So one of the things that the CCC has been doing from the beginning, our plan was to create the curriculums and work with the community college systems and other private entities to create a best type curriculum for this energy audit capability and the retrofit capability, and also to work with the local conservation corps in specific instances. And we have begun to do that. And in fact, we are at pretty far advanced with the Los Angeles Unified School District in terms of planning for an implementation program. The CCC itself has actually begun performing audits for LA Unified, but it's a relatively small number. And the local conservation corps, which is the Los Angeles Conservation Corps, we're in discussions now about their provision of these kinds of services, with the CCC training them, they then making the contractual arrangement with LA Unified, and then on an ongoing basis, them providing these types of services. We have had similar discussions with the Urban Core of San Diego and looking at opportunities in San Diego County, as well as with the San Jose Conservation Corps, looking at opportunities in the Greater Bay Area. So we are working towards that, and with any luck, we'll have the first one of those, which hopefully will be in the Los Angeles area, operational sometime in the first half of this year. So I can't get in. I mean, I'd be happy to provide you more detail with what it is we're doing, but that's in fact part of our plan. So our goal was we were not allowed practically to take a certain amount of that money and allocate it directly, but rather we can work with them to make sure that all the things we've developed can go to the local cores, and the local cores can actually implement with LEAs within their geographic areas.
You know, I want to applaud what you've done in terms of within the program that you were expected to administer. I think getting these kids involved in this aspect of the program is just something that's just wonderful.
And it's, thank you for that. It is actually extraordinarily well received, which I'll speak to anecdotally as we go along. But on this slide, again, just keeping time in mind here, we've done more than 1,100 schools, and those schools consist of about 10 buildings per school on average. So we've done about 11,000 buildings. And these are very comprehensive energy audits. I just want to point that out. They identify opportunities that are consistent with Prop 39 and also the greater spectrum of opportunity. On the retrofit side, we've just begun to do the retrofit projects, as I mentioned, to begin training. These are more time, they take more time to do, and they are much more, they're very specific. They're lighting retrofit projects. So we finished actually 21 of these in the previous slide as well. The counties, I've identified the different projects by different, in terms of like how many surveys have been performed for LEAs located in, of the 319 LEAs in these different counties, just so you'd have some more specifics of that. The same thing is true for this slide, except that there's a slight discrepancy. So we finished 21 projects so far, but we're only showing a total of 13 here. So we haven't updated that data, which I will update for you. But 21 projects, this information is current. And we've installed a total of 20,701 lighting retrofits. These are primarily LED lighting retrofits, but there are also some direct bulb replacements that would be fixtures, ballasts, et cetera. So
We have a lot of zeros on that slide, so we have a lot of work to do there.
exactly, but it's just begun. And so when we started out, we had 10 energy opportunity survey crews. Now we have 6 retrofit crews and 4 energy opportunity survey crews. So it's a balance that we have of 10 crews, of 10 core members each. Backlogs look like this. So on the survey side, we have about 107 LEAs. This includes not only the LEAs that applied previously, but there's also a backlog of LEAs who would, after we stopped the application process, who wanted to also be included. So our intention is to reopen that process and to include them. So we're counting them in this particular information.
I'm going to ask you to summarize your
Yes.
presentation if you can, because we're...
So the bottom line is we've trained about 439 core members, and that's the total. You can see this different breakout in terms of what they were trained on. And to date, this is direct hire information. So 25 of the core members have actually been hired to date directly by the energy efficiency companies that are our partners and that we work with. And there are an outstanding total of more than 120 requests from these companies to hire core members when they are suitably ready, meaning enough experience and ready to go to the market. So it's a pretty substantial amount of demand that we are servicing. And this slide just simply points to the fact that there are some detailed videos available for any of you to look at if you would like to see them about the detail of what's done in all these areas. That concludes the presentation.
Thank you very much. And I would like to sit down and meet with you sometime soon to talk about what more we can do. not only are we looking at Prop 39 as a potential tool to get these kids on a better path, we're also looking at SB 350,
Exactly.
where we see in the next, 15 years or so, we're going to have the state moving toward more renewables, and there's going to be, more job opportunities in that area, and hopefully these kids at the highest, the most at risk, especially, you understand that the state agency, Conservation Corps, works with a different population of youth in the local programs. Local programs tend to work with kids that are more at risk, that have a harder job finding these jobs. So I just see a tremendous opportunity before us to get these kids working, trained and working in these projects that will eventually lead them to a job in an area, an economic sector that's growing in our state. Energy is going to be, renewable energy is going to be an area that's going to employ a lot of people in the state in the future. And I would like to see those kids be on a path to get quality jobs in the future. I don't know that we're there yet with this program. And that's why I'd like to see, maybe this is an area we can work on this year. What can we do to tweak this a little bit more to get those local corps, to get the corps, to get the youth build programs that are out there access to building some of these projects. I think it's a win-win for everybody because, again, I've seen the projects that have been built by the corps. They're by no means easy projects to accomplish. They are very technical projects, and they're out there hammering out as good as anybody else, under cost, on time. I've seen this. I have a lot of confidence in the local corps and these programs' ability to fulfill these projects according to expectation and still help out these kids to prepare them for the future. I think when the voters approved Prop 39, I think that's what they wanted, right? They want energy efficiency, but they also want to improve the schools to somehow affect education as well. And I think by working with the corps, we're doing that. We're helping provide job training. We're helping to provide jobs. We're helping to provide, a future for these kids that otherwise wouldn't have one without these programs. This is our safety net. These programs are the safety net for these kids. If they weren't there, I don't think anybody else would take an interest in helping them graduate from high school and provide training and eventually place them into a job. So I want to put emphasis on that in whatever we do, and I hope that we can work together, you and I, to get there.
We certainly share the same vision. I would be happy to do that.
Thank you.
And also with any other person, a senator who might want to talk about this as well.
That's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to move on with our program, and we have Sarah White that's here with the California Workforce Development Board. She's going to talk about calculating the jobs and what impact Prop 39 has had on job creation to date, and potentially looking forward if you have that data. We're interested in that as well. Welcome. Thank you for being here today.